what are some of the most interesting and key developments we are seeing in the renewable sector at the moment?
Well, thank you, Joe. To be honest, there are quite a lot of really interesting and key developments. But if you ask me for a few highlights, I would probably go with the first one is the repowering of wind assets. We particularly see in Germany, but I'm quite sure continental Europe will follow. And that kind of describes that the market is growing up and comes from a bit of an outsider renewable market to being one of the main power markets in Europe, certainly, and all over the world. So repowering of wind assets is certainly something which I would say is one of the most interesting and key developments, and tons of work for us in there as well.
Okay, great. And Jen, same question to you.
Yeah, the most interesting and sort of key development I see right now is the particularly the BESS sector, so the battery energy storage system sector. It's gone from quite a nascent market with quite small projects, especially in the UK. It is starting to branch out more into other European jurisdictions, and certainly some international jurisdictions as well have got a sort of burgeoning BESS market. But in the UK, it's become extremely prevalent, and it's starting to emerge as a really key method by which we'll be able to decarbonise our energy industry. And I think we'll talk about this a little bit more over the course of this interview, but batteries are getting bigger in the UK, and that's a particularly exciting opportunity for investors and for stakeholders in the renewable energy market, particularly sort of smoothing out the supply and providing the ultimate answer to what happens when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow. So batteries are a key method there for stepping in to manage our security of supply.
And I think to add on that, if we're looking on a worldwide scale, I think the offshore market is still one of the most interesting and key developments. We're looking at the potential of offshore wind, particularly in Asia, but also, to be frank, all over the world. That's a real power source where large potential still lies and is waiting for investors to dig into that. So I think on a global scale, development of the offshore market is still something to be very aware of and is to be considered one of the key developments.
It is encouraging that a lot of jurisdictions are sort of still standing firm on clean power and decarbonisation, just in some cases, but the optimism remains.
Great, thanks. So it does sound like it's quite an exciting space at the moment with lots of new developments happening and new people coming into the market, or organizations and technology coming into the market. So it sounds very great. So going on to the next question, what specific areas of expertise does Watson Farley & Williams provide on a global scale within the renewable sector? And this is a two-pronged question. So that was the first part. The second one is, how are Watson Farley & Williams contributing to the significant, to any significant regional developments within this industry?
Yeah, I think that we really managed to provide a full service to our clients in the energy sector, and in particular in the renewable sector. We are on a European and also worldwide level being able to advise clients on the same top level and provide them with real expert advice throughout all the services we have, and there are quite a lot of them. And it's always nice and good if you have, for example, a corporate M&A lawyer who's specialized in energy. But if you look at it and say, well, we have regulatory specialists in Spain, in Paris, in the UK, in Germany, and follow through disputes, real estate, what have you. And all of these are sector experts and particularly have far-reaching knowledge in the renewable sector. That's until this day really amazing for me.
And I think a key way we sort of contribute and stay with the development is really staying ahead of the market, trying to always position ourselves on perhaps first of a kind transactions, staying ahead of market and regulatory developments so we can move quickly with clients and respond to market changes and dynamics. And that's across all of our markets as well, and sharing that knowledge. So if there's a particular development in the Asian market or in the European market, information sharing and knowledge sharing is also one of our key strengths as well. And in such a fast moving market like the renewable space, where the pace of change and technological development is so quick, that really sets us ahead and gives us the real strength to move with those developments alongside the key players in the market.
I absolutely agree on that. And the interesting thing is, and that's the story which is often told in Germany, is when the first German offshore project started, it was particularly our knowledge which we've made in the UK on these projects, which allowed us to be upfront in the German market as well, because while the regulatory and legal framework might be different, the project itself and where the projects become problematic and where issues lies is not so different, even if it's in several jurisdictions. And having this broad sector knowledge allows us to transport this knowledge also to emerging markets, for example, Asia in that regard, and to be at the forefront there as well.
Great. Well, it sounds like we've got quite a global spread in terms of expertise within the team. So it's quite specialized skill set that's well worth taking advantage of. Which renewable energy project that you've worked on in the last some years are you most proud of, and why?
Well, for me, one pops immediately to mind, and that's the project loop which we've done for our client Ever. It's a geothermal project, which in itself is kind of an interesting one, because when we're talking renewable energy, most of us think of wind and solar and probably batteries, but geothermal is a renewable energy source as well. And there are many reasons why this is outstanding, but to name a few of them, firstly, it was a real collaboration between lots of different service team members in Germany. For example, regulatory was a huge part, corporate M&A was a huge part, project contracts was a huge part, finance was a huge part. We did a huge advisory piece on state aid, and all of these teams and people from various offices working more or less seamlessly together for the benefit of the client. That was really, really well. It was a long project, took well over 2 years to advise on. And seeing it then come to life, seeing the drilling really happening, seeing the formal opening, and that was all really, really astonishing to see. And to be honest, also winning 2 awards for that deal as a WFW team was quite nice as well.
Great. It sounds quite exciting. So geothermal is very interesting. Like you say, I think a lot of people have a lot of interest in it because it feels like it's so different. Jen, have you the same question to you?
Yeah, slightly different angle. So actually the example that I have is a live transaction, so I can't quite say the name of the transaction, but I think I mentioned the battery market earlier as a particularly key market and a key technology that's going to take us towards our decarbonisation goals, particularly in light of the 2030 targets. And so I'm working on a transaction at the moment, which once completed, it will be the biggest battery in Europe by some margin. And the reason that's exciting is as the technology expands, it really increases the potential of the types of investors that can come into these projects. The scale of the project brings real sort of aggregation and de-risking as well. And it sort of makes me proud in the sense that the market has now moved essentially from from small numbers of megawatts into gigawatt territory, which is just very exciting. It isn't just all about the big numbers, but it does make you very proud when you see that you're part of something that is really making quite a significant contribution to the energy security of a country and to the progression towards decarbonisation goals.
So what do you enjoy most about working in the energy sector and specifically within the renewables space?
There are many reasons. I think what I like best is it's ever changing. So it's a field where you can really play out the strength of being a sector expert, and really be at the forefront of what is happening in the markets. And that's probably one point. The other one is certainly for me, you're being a part of the energy transition, and you try to actively move towards that. And it may sound a bit odd, but to be honest, I find it it gives me quite a good feeling telling my kids, yeah, I'm trying to work towards a transition goal, or that we don't burn too much of fossil fuels and so on and so forth. And I think finally I'm doing this now for almost 20 years. And it has never over the entire period become boring for a single day. So it's really something which where still today I find pieces and stuff which is really interesting, challenging in a good way, and wants me to continue working.
So working in renewables in particular, and as an energy lawyer, as any of us will tell you, we do like the fact that there's a sort of tangible asset involved at the end of whatever transaction you are working on. It brings a real life relatability to your day-to-day legal work, and your discussions with your clients and your deal delivery, especially as a project finance lawyer myself. Rather than doing financing in isolation, you're building towards something. But in the case of renewables in particular, the nuance and the variety in the technology really does make it very, very interesting. Constant change, constant technology development. And also it is great to be part of something that is so relevant geopolitically, and part of something that is really modern in the news, very relevant. People really people understand it and relate to it when you say that you work in the renewable space. It tends to, rather than people sort of saying, oh, you're a finance lawyer, saying you're a renewables finance lawyer tends to make people ask a lot of questions, and people are genuinely quite interested in it. So again, it's a really nice space to work in, that you can share that and feel again proud and invested in the work that you're doing, because it isn't just a job and a career. It actually can make an impact in the wider world as well, which is an excellent bonus. Because whenever I drive past wind turbines when we're out driving, my son always points them out, and I say that's what I help to do for a living, and he really understands it and doesn't quite understand what I do as a project finance lawyer, but it's really nice that he has a more tangible understanding of what I do. And you can teach them about renewable energy, you can teach them about electricity, you can teach children, and it's really nice to be a part of that conversation. So.
That's exactly what my children asked me. What are you doing? And we were driving, and we were driving past wind farms. And I said, well, yeah, I'm a regulatory la la la. And my wife said, Daddy builds these. Helps building these. Yeah. And it was like, okay, yeah, in a way I do.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and all of the information. And I know it's a busy time, so I appreciate it even more. So